Families are now sharing their thoughts on one of the largest ICE raids in U.S. history. 5 years ago, investigators arrested over 680 Hispanic workers at 7 chicken processing plants in Mississippi. Those happened in Forest, Morton, and Canton. That was also the first day of school for many students who would later lose a parent that day. I visited Forest, Mississippi, and spoke with impacted families and the resources that supported them. This is one of several chicken statues in the town of Forest that show how important the poultry industry is to its community. It also represents a loss of family for hundreds of others. Resources like this one, El Pueblo, provided whatever help was needed that day and afterwards, especially for kids, many of which are teenagers now, like Jordani. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I do. It felt unreal. I didn't believe it at first. And then a couple of days later, I saw my dad crying. And then that's when it hit me that she might not actually came back.
Jordani was 10 when his mother was arrested and deported. He had to help his father, Celso, take care of his younger siblings. El Pueblo opened its second office in Forest in response to the raids. They opened their doors Wednesday to impacted families and those who responded to help.
You know, we're not immigration lawyers by trade. That's not what we do. And the problem is we don't have many immigration lawyers in Mississippi.
Cliff Johnson is the director of the MacArthur Center for Justice at Ole Miss.
Because those stories were spread across the country and around the world, within 36 hours, we set up an account and had raised $970,000.
That money was used for humanitarian aid. Those who attended Wednesday's opening watched a short documentary film on the impact of the raids 5 years later and shared their experiences. I had to explain to my children that immigration picked me up. Isabella is one of the 680 arrested. Law enforcement released her to her 3-month-old and 5-year-old with an ankle monitor.
I think it's just an example of how politicians at the highest level often use people for political gamesmanship and political theater.
You know, the good thing is people are resilient, but trauma stays and affects people, and it affects children.
El Pueblo is one of the few organizations that provided trauma counseling for children.
It helped me a lot because my therapist, I could talk to her about anything or everything. And it felt good talking to somebody and letting it all out.
It's my opinion that I think an immigration work raid is very short-sighted. The effect on the chicken plant itself was minimal. It does affect family members and children that were left behind.
What I would encourage Mississippians to do is before you buy into that story, go to places like Ecru and Vardaman and Tupelo and Carthage and Morton and Forest and meet those people. From what I've learned as a Mississippian in the last 5 years is that these are friends and neighbors who don't want anything that's any different than the rest of us want. Safe place to live, a good job, and a happy family. And be careful about believing everything you hear at the national level.
In Forest, Daniela Oropeza, WTVA 9 News.